Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Reviewed. Hey everybody and welcome to another weekly wrap up, the last full one of March I guess, because we're going to be into April soon. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. This month was so much fun, but I won't get into that. We'll have that in the monthly wrap up. But anyway, I'm just feeling nostalgic already for a time I'm already in. Does that ever happen to you? Where you're just like, this is good times, right? Like, this is good times. So we have some great books to talk about, some super unique books to talk about. But first, I need to start this video with thanking a new patron. And that patron would be Alexa. And, this Alexa is pretty special to me. If you're watching this, thank you so much for supporting me here on YouTube. And yeah, it's just so cool to see you following me and to see you supporting me here. It just means so much. So I just wanted to tell you that from me to you. You made me feel really special when I saw that. So thank you so much. And to the rest of you, it's because I know this Alexa, just a little bit from a future life, as it were. And it definitely brought me a lot of joy to see her support here. So thank you so much. But let's go ahead and get into the books, you guys, because what an interesting week this was, okay? So I started off with finishing up a book that it took me forever to get to, and then it took me a little while to get through it, just being honest here. And that would be The Hurricane Wars by Thea Gonzon. I'm so sorry. I have never heard anyone say her name because I read it. I didn't listen to it, so apologies. I'm sure I butchered that. Now, this was one that was picked by someone to be annotated for my annotated pre-order, which was the one I did in January, which, by the way, I do have the form open right now if you still wanted to get in on that. I'll keep it open like through Sunday so that people watching this can get in on it. But this isn't for the monthly books. This is for when I do a pre-order, which is open to anyone. And I don't do a new pre-order until I've finished all the rest of them, right? And as I beat the drum, taxes are coming up in a couple of weeks, so it was time to open the form up, see what everybody wants to read and everything, right? But this was the last one I needed to finish, and I allow people to request a book of any that they want, or they can choose between some predetermined books by me that are a little bit, you know, on the cheaper side because I don't have to read them fresh for the first time, right? And so with this one, I have seen this one around, but I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that this is what the person wanted, and I was like, sure, I'll read it. Sounds good. Don't see any reasons not to. And then I found out more about it, of course. As I was picking it up, I heard that this was inspired possibly by Reylo. So Kylo Ren and Rey. Sorry, my brain. Kylo Ren and Rey. Yeah. Sorry, I never say like his full name anymore. I always just say Reylo. So I actually forgot his name independent from the ship name. That's really funny. But anyway, I heard that then when I was gonna be picking it up, and I was like, ooh, okay, cool. And I'm not really sure whether this is adult fantasy or whether it was like new adult fantasy. But now having read it, I would say it is adult fantasy. It's just low steam, we'll say. Like, there's not much going on. But I'll explain why, and, like, it worked for me, okay? I have mixed feelings about the book, but I will say this before I, like, get into more thoughts on it. My thoughts are warm enough that, like, I will continue this series. I will be reading the next two. I think this is supposed to be a trilogy. I'll probably get the audiobook for book 2 since I won't have to annotate that one. Because this did have some pretty slow spots, but then things started to pick up, at least in the romance part of it. And again, not like spicy stuff, but the pining turned up to an 11. Okay. And I was very much into it for that. But having like read this whole book and annotated it, I am pretty shifty on what the actual magic system totally was. I know it has to do with light and shadow, like with, I think it's just called like light and shadow is like what the two sides are called. So, you know, that's that yin and yang, that's that light side, dark side, you know, trope stuff coming up. But I found the beginning very hard to get into because part of that could be me, because I do like when an author just throws me into what's going on. However, as I have said in the past, when that happens in a fantasy, when I just get thrown into it, I do need to feel a connection like immediately to the characters, because for me, I either need the plot pulling me along or I need the characters pulling me along, right? You know, that's that difference between a plot-driven story and a character-driven story. And this was also third-person point of view, which is fine. A lot of fantasy is. But combining those two things together, like being just thrown into it, as well as it being a third-person point of view, it was difficult to get a bearing on what's going on, because this seems to be this is an Asian-inspired fantasy world with light and dark magic. There's a war, the Hurricane Wars being the title, fight between the different lands, and we have Prince Alaric, who is able to wield the power of shadow, and we have Taliesin is her name, who can wield the light power, and she is kind of a secret in the beginning of this series. Like, she is fighting for, again, it's a bit Star Wars inspired, so she's like fighting for the one side, and she's very much kept her powers hidden because all of her kind has been like wiped out by the other side. And so if they knew that there was this light wielder, I think that is what it's called, the light wielder, they would come for her. They would come for her for sure. And so she's hidden that, but eventually Taliesin and Alaric start coming up against each other. And eventually there's something, like, I'm definitely skimming to this because I'm not trying to tell you the whole thing, but I need to get to the setup of this one, okay? I just have to. They keep coming up against each other, and so now the other side is aware of her. Then something happens where Taliesin finds out something about who she really is, right? And it's going to lead to a situation where there's an arranged marriage between her and him. So that is, I believe on the back of the book it says that there's an arranged marriage, but it did take a good while for us to get to that part, which is why I feel, bad kind of explaining that. But I won't feel bad. You guys like when I speak into it. And also this book has been out for quite a while, so it's not like it's a arc that I'm going on about. But this is kind of where the trouble was for me, is that the first 200 pages were I think we're like part one, and that's before this heroine finds out who she really is and before this arranged marriage gets put into place between their two kingdoms, right? Because now these two who kept coming up against each other fighting are now supposed to be on the same side and find a way to use their powers together to defeat a greater evil, right? That is kind of the thing. Now, on the side notes of it, Alaric, being of the shadow, he actually has a connection to a very dark side, not just shadow in and of itself, but there is this shadow realm that he's able to go into, and he has someone, again, I don't want to tell everything, who is speaking to him, and anytime he feels more pulled toward the light, this being speaks to him and tries to tell him, like, no, there's a greater purpose, like, no, this is what we want. So we have that aspect that also feels very like, emperor in the ear, or what was he, supreme ruler in the ear type thing. So yeah, the first 200 pages of this, and I know it's 200 pages because when I was trying to get through this book, my goal was to read 100 pages of it a day, right? And the first 2 days of getting through it was rough, right? And that's why I don't have too much more details for what happened. But a bit way into that next 100 pages, so like between 200 and 300 pages, this book was almost 500 pages, by the way, that is when this arranged marriage gets put in place. And so now these two are forced to spend time together. They're forced to work towards what their wedding is going to be. They are practicing their powers together, and the pining kicks it up, okay? Alaric specifically is the one who like goes to their place first, and after they get married, she will be coming with him. But the whole rest of this book basically is their engagement. They don't get married till near the end, and then books 2 and 3 will be, you know, continuing it. But during that time, the pining from Alaric was top tier, okay? Like, I wish I had saved some of the quotes, but, you know, I had to send this book to the person I annotated it for. And I didn't quite like it enough to buy my own copy and save my notes. Like, that's what I do if I really, really love one. And I don't want to read that one again, but I will tell you that the level of pining that this man does, the thoughts he thinks about her are amazing. Like, there are times it straight up has the, like, he brushes up against her and he'll be like, it was like a live wire. And he's very starved for touch. He is, like, never been with a woman because of that. Like, so there's all these layers to him where he's definitely sad, broken, broody, emo boy, needs pretty, you know, warm, welcoming girl to, like, wake him up. Now, Taliesin, she is feisty, and we don't get as much of, like, seeing her pine, right? Like, she's becoming aware of him, and she's very much fighting against having any attraction for him, because she's like, I know I have to marry him, but, like, I will not bend. I will not show weakness to this guy. Like, she very much wants to be like that. And it works for her character for me, just because of where she comes from and how she's grown up, and you know, she's seen this guy as her enemy, and these wars that they're in have caused her to lose loved ones and friends. And so I understood her very much wanting to put up the front of, like, not caving to anything from him. So anyway, enough of that about it. I don't really care about what the story is happening. But by the end of this, I was honestly, like, over it. Like, I was sending big sis, Crystal, a bunch of screenshots of just quotes, because she had actually tried to read this book. I don't want to speak for her, but she tried to, like, read this book, and then it didn't work out. She didn't continue. And then, like, the reviews on this aren't fantastic, so I don't know if that's what deterred her. I don't know what it was. Like I said, I'm not speaking for her. I just know that when I started it, she was like, let me know if I should continue. Because she's like, I started it. She bought the pretty copy that, like, I had to. Before I did, she bought this. And she's like, it's so pretty, but I didn't continue. And I was like, well, I have to finish it, so I'll let you know. And once I started getting, like, I was screenshotting so many quotes for her, or taking pictures and sending her, just out of context, like, pining quotes, like, just filled with it, where he's thinking, you know, the self-hatred, but also the, like, but could there be more? Like, what could Taliesin bring me? Like, what could we be together? Like, those things, right? Which, again, very much gives me the Kylo Ren vibes, or the Ben Solo vibes almost, right? That you want to get from that. Like, that's what you want, is that super broody part of it. And it definitely was coming through. Besides the fact that there are some particular scenes that, you know, if you've read The Last Jedi or those, they're directly in your head, certain scenes. And there were some of those that came in my head. He also wears a half wolf mask, you know, made me think of certain things. So yeah, it was not the best thing I've ever read. And after that rambling, I will tell you, I did give it 3.5 stars, but by the end of it, and I wrote this to the gal that I annotated for, I was like, you know what? I wasn't sure about this, but the book won me over enough to continue. And there are plenty of books that I've liked less than that I've kept going. But I think that I will. I think I will, because I think that at the end of the day, when I look at this, it is a romantasy, even though it isn't about the spice type that people read now. I think this book could be read by a young adult. Like, it could. Like, it's one of those fantasy ones that just because it's an adult fantasy, it doesn't mean it's erotic. Now, I don't know what books 2 and 3 will be, but there was, you know, less in this than there is in, like, ACOTAR. And those of you who've truly read ACOTAR, you know we don't like when that's called smut, because it's not, right? Like, this has less than that in this one. I don't know what the future books will have. I don't know if we'll have a chapter 55 in a later book. I don't know. But I still felt their connection, and I still felt their chemistry. They just are really fighting it in this one. And because this will be, you know, what I believe will be 3 books, I do think that that was an okay way to pace that out. I, you know, wanted there to be more, but that's because they really teased me well. And I think the way it played out and where we left it made sense for their characters, because if if they had lost all of that hate, if they were trusting each other already, if they were ready to just conquer the world together so soon, it would feel way too rushed, especially for the slow pace we had going through. So, okay, I did end up at a 3.5 star for this. This was about a 1 on my chili pepper scale, which means like there was a scene, there was them getting off happening, but there wasn't anything super erotic or deeply explained. So I would call this more than the steam puff on my scale, but not more than a 1 either. So just know that, like, that's not what you're in this one for. However, I know plenty of y'all who watch me don't always need there to be that. I know some of you skip scenes too. So if you really like a pining couple, you like it broody, you like enemies to lovers, this is a case of like they have perfect reason to be actual enemies and they are forced into an arranged marriage. And I'm very intrigued. Like, truly, I almost bought book 2 when I was at Barnes & Noble recently, but I'm like, not quite yet. I'll probably wait for a paperback copy of that one just because I don't know. But I may also like find a way to listen to the audiobook first and see if I want to continue. So anyway, wow, I talked a long time about this one. That was a 3.5 star, but yeah, it was worth my time. I'm glad that not a patron, but that a supporter had like bought a copy of this, because otherwise I would never have read this. And to be honest, I would have given up by the 200 page mark on that one. Like I would have, like, if I hadn't have had to keep going, I would have stopped, because usually I don't give a book more than 100 pages if I'm not loving it. And that one took over 200 pages. It did. There's no point denying it. It did. Okay, moving along. But it's okay, because there's a few of these that will be pretty quick to talk about today because they're rereads. And one of those is See It Through by Julia Wolf. This is actually the 3rd time I've read this one now, which is fun. Like, I love that. Because I read it when it came out. I read it to annotate it for someone. And then I'm now on, Julia Wolf now has an ALC team, which is something I have been wanting for years. Like, literally 2 or 3 years ago, I asked if she did like review copies of her audiobooks, and it just wasn't something that was possible at that time. And now she is. So By the Letter should be the next one coming up. And I'm, of course, very excited about that because one of my 6-star reads. But yeah, so I don't need to say too much. I actually, just reread this in February, but I listened to the audiobook this time, and this was a duet narration, right? Wasn't it? It was. Yeah, this was a duet narration by Emma Wilder and Sean Masters. So I say this, I'll say it again. Sean Masters can play every country boy and cowboy out there. I will eat it up. Just give me bowl after bowl of it. I'm here for it. And this was wonderful. Like, truly, it added just another layer of even loving this story to them. But just quick, I'll tell you the tropes just in case you don't know, because I know there's new people all the time. But this is the beginning of a series from Julia Wolf. So it's the first one in the Kelly Ranch. This is a spin-off series from her new adult series, actually, that she wrote a couple years ago. And the parents are a couple from a college series that she had. And now it's basically like 30 plus years later, they run a ranch in Wyoming. It's a ranch and like resort, and they have 4 kids, and this series will be about their 4 kids. But you can absolutely start here. You totally can, especially if you don't love new adult or whatever, because particularly like that whole series isn't something everyone's gonna love. It's just Sweet Like Poison that is about their parents, if you want to read that one. But this one is about Hannah Kelly, who she is a female farrier, and she had been kind of like, she first interned and then worked under this man named Graham. I believe that's right. Is it Graham Town? Yeah. And then his son Remy has actually been estranged from him, but also used to be friends with her brother. And he like disappeared when he was 18, moved away, got work, and never came back. And in fact, he actually has missed his father's death and funeral. And Hannah, who, as we said, had been, working with his father, she's very angry that he didn't come back to see his father before he died. But there are reasons. The man that Hannah knows is not the man that was Remy's father when he was younger. And so Remy has a lot of bitter and mixed feelings about being back in Sugar Bush, whichever it is, I can't remember. So yes, but yeah, and they he discovers when he comes back that his father actually left the house to both of them. And the father kind of sort of did that because he thought these two would like each other, which is kind of cool. But there's going to be a lot they have to get through. So this is a really beautiful story. I gave this 5 stars last year. The next book, Hold the Line, will be coming in May. We got a release date for that one already. So cannot wait. That one's looking like it's going to be purple. It's going to be Phoebe's book, which is the next sister. Yeah, very excited about that. That one has brother's best friend. It is brother's ex-best friend, but it has some really beautiful caretaking moments in it too. There is, blue collar hero and all that stuff. It does have a bit of a suspense plot, so be prepared. Okay, next up, I can't tell you how perfect this worked out, okay, because I did not plan for this to happen, but I'll explain. So I love Willow Astor. I'm actually reading my advanced copy of the next book in the Single Dad's Playbook. But I want to read some of her backlist. Ever since I first met her at a North Iowa Book Bash, I bought a few of her books there and I've never gotten around to them. But then I started the Single Dad's Playbook, and those are the first books of hers that I've read. So there's 4 books out in that series so far. I believe there's supposed to be 5 total. And I love it. It's football, dads, and just love it. Love it, love it, love it. But I wanted to read her backlist. And one of the deals of the month last month, I think, was the first book in the Landmark series. So this is the series before, and of course it will connect with this one. And I also have now read Autumn Nights. I read that one the month before too, which took place with one of the brothers from Autumn Nights. One of the brothers, that's his romance. The other brother, he and his brother had invested in Landmark Mountain, which was a basically like dying family endeavor. The grandfather used to really run this resort, and now that he's passed, it went up for sale. Now it went up for sale basically against the wishes of specifically one of the grandchildren who'd been help running it all this time. This girl, her name is Ren. Oh, I love that name. And her grandfather just never really wanted her to give her whole life to this job, but she loves doing it. And so the place is being sold because her 3 brothers, they didn't think that she should do it either. They didn't know she wanted it. And so this has been basically sold. And she is in the contract to stay there for 2 months to help the new owners take over. And she's very upset about this. She's mad that this big business guy is swooping in and buying her family business and expects her to hand over all of the secrets. So she has all these plans to kind of make it miserable for him. But even though in doing so, she maybe doesn't fully think that through, because there are, all the people in this town that rely on this resort for work that she would be screwing over. She did that. But anyway, don't worry. It doesn't last too long, because Jack, who again is the brother from Autumn Nights, him and his brother have invested in this, and they have no reason why they want to change how homey and wonderful this place is, because his family had actually stayed at Landmark Mountain before a few times and have very good memories of it. And when they saw it was up for sale, they were actually very sad that it could go to the hands of a conglomerate. So him and his brother have no desire to wreck this. In fact, their hope is to honestly just be investors. I mean, they are going to take over some parts, but they want the family to still help them. They have no desire to wipe them out. But that is not the impression that Ren has before things happen. Now, of course, to add a little fun in here, these two actually have a one-night stand with each other before they officially meet later on, when he shows up as the new owner of our family business. And of course, Ren is going to think that it was all a ploy and that he knew who she was, but neither of them had read the papers and knew the name of the person buying it, because he was too busy to fully do that. He trusted his people to do it, and she didn't want to know. So of course he didn't do it on purpose, and he's like, oh my gosh, this girl, this is her, maybe this is meant to be. He's super into her, and she's just no, you lied to me. You're taking my family stuff away. And so this does start very antagonistic. Okay. Whew. So that's our setup. And basically this whole book is Jack winning Ren over. And I won't tell you all the things he does, because it was great. And it's it totally was Willow Aster, which means there's lots of found family. Which it's funny because they both have big families, but it's like their families finding each other. There are some dogs that get adopted. There are just like, it was so fun. Now, it did drag in a few places, which can happen with Willow Aster because in general, her books are great, okay? Like, her books are so fun and I love them, but because she doesn't put a ton of conflict in, which again, I don't always want there to be some huge like bad thing, but it can like drag a little bit because it's like, well, we're just happy and we're going to make it work right away, right? So I did give this one 4 stars, but I really liked it. And what the fun part is, so yeah, this is Forced Proximity. They have a one-night stand for office romance, small town. I love everyone there. And it got me very excited to read the rest of the Landmark series, which I already did grab the audiobook for the next one. So yeah, I will be listening to that hopefully soon. Maybe not in April because my calendar I'm already crying for how full it is of things, but I will get to that one soon. But anyway, again, I have not finished with Wicked Love yet, which is the one I'm reading, but that one, it's just so funny because there's a wedding for Sadie and what's his face from the first book. They are getting married, and one of the brothers of whose brothers, I don't know, but they get married at Landmark Mountain. That's my point. Okay, so Single Dad's Playbook, that series is like they're an hour away from like Landmark Mountain, and so the wedding gets hosted there. So that's why it was just so funny because I just read that and I had no idea. I did not read the blurb of Wicked Love, right? I love that series. I just read it because in the blurb it even says that there's a wedding in Landmark Mountain, and like I had no clue. So I just love how things work out sometimes because I knew who all these like fun cameos were, you know, Jack and Ren and like their families and like all those things. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It was a 3 on the spice scale, and there is some death and grief that gets covered for them. And there is a parent actually who has a health issue at one point, so be prepared for that. Okay, next up, I had another audio, and this one was the advanced copy of Undeniably Enemies. This comes out on Tuesday, so you'll be getting this one very soon. This is book 5 in the Boston Billionaires, or I think that's what this one is, another doctor romance. This one was a spicy, crazy, wild time, okay? So this one actually starts out with a Halloween party. Oh my gosh. I have to correct this. I said the wrong names for Unforgettable. They're on my spreadsheet. So Unforgettable is Jameson and Scarlett. Undeniable Enemies is Ren and Jack, okay? So, sorry. Hopefully I put a little like thing up that I said the wrong names. Jameson and Scarlett are the couple from Unforgettable. I have them right by each other, and because the titles both start with a U, I messed this up. So anyway, we have Jack in Undeniably Enemies going to a Halloween party he got invited to, and he meets this Cinderella gal there who's wearing a mask, and they actually like share a drink, and they just have this crazy chemistry, and they end up having sex. Like, it just gets like, anyway, you'd have to read it, but they have this crazy connection and they have sex, and a couple things become clear as Jack is, turns out he's deflowering this Cinderella who happens to be his best friend's little sister, who happens to be at this party at the same time. But he is literally like mid-thrust in there, and she kind of is like, don't leave me, like, you have to finish what you started. And so they do it, and immediately Jack feels horribly guilty, and Ren has, it turns out, always had a crush on him, but he's 10 years older than her. At the point of this, she's 20 and he's 30 at this like it's not, is it even the prologue? But either way, chapter 1, it starts when she's 20 and he is 30. And then he's horrified by it. And so it turns into like, now he's like, I gotta push her away. I can't have feelings for my best friend's little sister. And like a year later, it is around Thanksgiving, and he is at the family dinner. So now she's 21 and he's 31, and we know now that they have a super antagonistic relationship, and they just go at each other. So we see some of that. And then we have a chapter at that time, and then we skip forward again to our present time, which is now 4 years after that. And she is now doing her, I don't know what it's called because she's not an intern yet, but she's doing like a stint in the ER under an intern. And he is kind of the head of the ER. And so she wants to be assigned to that hospital because like it's her family's hospital, and of course she's going to be there. And now he's the one like overseeing, you know, the interns in the ER, and then her too. So now they're going to be forced to be in front of each other all the time. Now another thing as well, they actually live in the same building, which he finds out and doesn't like tell her right away until later on. And then there's also involving some secret texting that happens, because he has her number from years ago, but had never used it. And so they begin kind of this like secret texting thing. So those are all the elements in this one. Very much enemies, because he's really tried to keep her his enemy so that he won't have warm and gooey feelings about her. We know how that goes. He doth protest too much. We fight it, all those things. So yeah, this one is a workplace romance. It is forbidden. I mean, it's pretty forbidden for her to not even be an intern, 10 years younger than him. He's her, like, more than a boss almost to her, and a family friend. But here's the thing, like it is in a lot of series like this, there are going to be some people secretly rooting for them. And as I was quick to think while I was listening to it, I was like, every single one of these people is in an inappropriate relationship with either someone that they worked with or was a patient or whatever, okay? So Jack is very worried, though, because he's not one of the famous people, right? Like, he's a friend. He's not from the same level of fame. He's not a billionaire. Like, she's actually the one from a billionaire family. That doesn't mean she hasn't worked hard for what she has, but, you know, if there's going to be loyalty to someone, it's going to be her. So it is kind of interesting, because it's not enough to fully flip a dynamic. Like, he is older than her and he is her boss, and like, they do trust him a lot. It's not like they'd, you know, completely lose him if that happened, but it could make things really hard, and he could lose friends. And so he is kind of the one who's risking, I think, a lot, which is why he's tried to keep her really away from him. So anyway, eventually they're going to cave, and it's going to be really sexy, and there's going to be a lot of use of sex toys. There's some anal in this one too, and there is some sneaking around. Now, I gave this one 4.5 because the heroine makes one of the choices that I just don't care for. Now, this didn't officially have a third act breakup, so no third act breakup, but the heroine kind of annoyed me with a few of the things. And I don't like to use excuse like, she's young. I'm like, yeah, but she's 25, whatever. Like, come on. You're still, you know. But I still really liked it. I love this series. It's easy. It's fun. I listened to this while I was working on my puzzle, and it was a good time. So definitely recommend if you love the other ones. And I believe there is still a 6th one coming. I can't remember what the title was. But I think that one might be another, like, surprise pregnancy one, I think, is how, like, based on the title. I don't know, but I love accidental pregnancies so much. So I'm excited about it. Okay. Next up, okay, we're almost there. So next up was actually Hellcat by K.F. Hassall. Now, this was my Patreon read of the month. So if you want a full review, you will have to go check out my Patreon at the Swooning for You level or higher. You can even get sorry, my brain farted out. There is also a free week trial that gets you access to reviews too. So if you've never taken advantage of that before, you can. Now, I will say, like, I'll just be honest here, I really want to talk about this book with people. So I'm going to continue to hold off for a little while fully talking about it, because I always want to honor my patrons and their support of me, which literally keeps me doing this. And one of those things is to give them the exclusive reviews. But my reasonings for this one is A, I had never heard of this author before. And B, I think that it's really unique, and I think a lot of people will like it. And also, when the Mafia Romance Readathon comes up, which, by the way, is only about a month away, I want to recommend this so that people will give this one a go, because this author, it appears, hasn't written very much. I think maybe because, you know, her books never took off or they got busy or whatever. This does work as a standalone, just to put it out there. Like, it said that this was supposed to be the first in a series, but she never wrote more. But you're not left on a cliffhanger with anything. We aren't even really introduced to who another couple would be. So it's not like there's anything that leaves you hanging at all. No reason for anyone not to read this one because they're like, oh, well, if the series isn't finished, well, there's nothing leaving you hanging at all, because again, you're introduced to other characters, but there's not a hint at who a couple would be. There's just other characters that you'd be like, oh, we could have a romance, okay? So I want to remove all excuses, because once I tell you what this one's about, I think you might like it. But again, I won't give you my full review of this because I want to keep it. So this one got picked for female assassin. This isn't a female assassin, actually, and that's my fault, because this is one that I put into the poll and it got picked because it does have a really good blurb. Like, the blurb of this book is amazing. But I thought it sounded like female assassin, and it was also on a list of female assassins, and she's not. She's a thief, and she wants to get revenge against some people who had very much hurt her. And to do that, she needs to cozy up and pull a grift on the head of the West Coast Bratva, okay? So she basically is pulling off a grift. This actually gave me kind of like Leverage vibes a little bit of how she cases a joint and everything. But I thought this was really unique, of the story. And then, yeah, again, I don't want to say anything else, but I will eventually tell you guys a bit more of it. But if you're intrigued by what I've said, please go check out my review for it, on my Patreon. And again, the Mafia Romance Readathon is coming up in just a little over a month. By the way, there will be an announcement about it coming really soon. I'm just working out a few things, but my hosts have been picked and we're getting ready to go. But this is one that I definitely want some people to try for that. But yeah, so this was, and it's called Hellcat because her name is Cat, in case you didn't know. So anyway, I read that one this week. Okay, then I had an ALC, not an ALC, I had an arc of Dark Horse by Maggie Rodden. This one is out already. This is the next book in the Quiet Horseman, which is kind of like organized crime adjacent, especially because the hero in this one, Grant, is the one kind of leading the family, is kind of leading this criminal organization. He has a casino. He's involved in dirty dealings. But in book one, which is kind of a spin-off from Maggie's like football series, Ramsey hasn't been involved in the family business because he's been in football and has been away from it. But we saw some of his interactions when he went to his brothers for help in the previous book. So we know a little bit about them. But Grant, he is kind of the boss of everything. And he also was at one time the guardian for 6 months of his dead best friend's little sister. So there we have our heroine, who is Dakota, and for the last 10 years she's kind of had a hate-filled relationship with Grant. And her brother had died doing like a job with him, and so he was then made, as I said, the guardian of Dakota because she was almost 18. Of course, nothing happened with them at that time. He was literally looking out for her. He felt so guilty for what happened to his friend, and he has watched out for her ever since, but he has done it in a bit of an antagonistic way, right? Like, he is the one who rents the building that her bar is in, as well as like her home, I think is it just right above it? I don't know. Like, he is her landlord. He comes in multiple nights of the week and sits in the corner drinking and watching her do her work, and he is just always there brooding and watching her, and she kind of hates him for that, but she also is very attracted to him, and she's just like, he always will put me on this pedestal and see me as his friend's little sister, and nothing's gonna happen. But again, he doesn't give her a break all the time just because he is still demanding of his rent on time, just like anything else, and she barely breaks even with her bar. So because of that, again, he does kind of hold it over her head to, and in my personal opinion, this is never said in the book, but in my personal opinion, he kind of keeps it that way because it kind of keeps her in town and like working there where he can keep an eye on her by keeping the rent high and keeping her barely able to pay it. That's just my personal feelings, okay? I think that the way it was written, I think that he kind of did that so he could keep her within his grasp a little bit. But anyway, so she needs to make extra money, and she starts doing a bit of cam girl work. Now, she just barely gets started doing this, okay? And then one day, she's out of the house, and there's some work that needs to be done. And again, he's the landlord, so he comes over there to let the guy in. And he does a bit of snooping. Because he's also kind of wondering where she is, because she was supposed to be there for this appointment and she's not, and because he's a worrier, and also because he's involved with bad people, he's like, what's going on? I gotta sleep. And she apparently just left her laptop sitting open. Of course it's locked, because you know your laptop will lock if you just leave it sitting open. But he's like, well, maybe there will be a hint about where she is. Okay, sure Jan. But he's able to get in using her very super high-tech password, and discovers that she's still logged in to this site, this camgirl site. And as he scrolls through it, he sees these spicy pictures of her, and now he's like, oh no. And also he's like, hell no, you're not going to sell yourself that way. So once she returns home, it turns out she was just out on a trail ride. He sets up the new parameters for what's going to happen, okay? The new parameters of this is that, sure, she can be taking those spicy little pictures and getting off to the camera, but she's not going to send it to strangers. She's going to send them to him, and he'll give her a deal on her rent. This is a dark romance, okay? This type of blackmail we expect, all right? The trigger warnings exist for this, okay? They do. But he's like, no, I want all the spicy little pictures. And she's like, you dirty old man. You want to be my daddy, don't you? And he's like, don't call me that. And she's like, oh, ho, ho. Yes, we are. Because you want naked pictures of me. So it's happening. So now she will torture him with sexy things. And he really, really is like, I'm just going to keep it to a screen between us. But good fucking luck, dude. Good fucking luck with that. So there is also a suspense element that does have to do with his dirty dealings, but we won't get into that. Let's get into a few of the oddly specific things about this, and then we'll move on to the last book that I read. She has a clit piercing. Love a piercing. There are also some really hot tattoos that she has, which are great. There's some BDSM explored. There is some anal, breeding kink, CNC, daddy kink, lots of toys, as I said, squirting. Oh my God, you guys. There is a scene. You can skip to the next book if you don't want to know it, but I got to tell someone about the scene. There's a scene the first time that he gets her off by touching her, not just by like talking her through it. They are out on the porch, and he sits her on his lap and like fingers her until she squirts all over him. Okay. And at the same time he's doing that to her, he comes in his pants. So he's come in his pants. He has her having squirt all over him. And then they like stand up and he's like, great, this is going to be, you know, this is great. But she's like, it's so hot that you just came in your pants for me. And then she throws beer on him. So it looks like she spilled beer on him. Not that they just had a sexual encounter. Oh, that's going to live rent-free here, okay? That is going to live rent-free here for a long time. So hats off to you, Maggie Rodden. Now, overall, though, I did give this one 4 stars, okay? Because as much as I loved all the sexy times and the hotness of this one, I didn't care for the suspense element in the same way I cared for it in the first one. And I think I gave that one 4.5 stars or something. Still very good, still very intriguing, and I still had a very fun time. But when I look back at the book, as I said, I'm remembering their spicy scenes, not really their romance, and not really what the plot parts were. So that still makes for a really fun time, and it was hot. So, I mean, I don't hate on it or anything, but that's how it was. Okay, and then the final book that I finished this week was in ALC. This one doesn't come out until another couple weeks, and it was The Nanny is Off Limits by QB Tyler. Now, I have not read a QB Tyler in quite a while. I have read quite a few of hers. They have all been basically erotic romance and pretty taboo, and I just hadn't always been in the mood for them. But this one, it's in the title. It says it's the nanny, and it's a lawyer dad. He is not a widower, actually, but his ex-wife had died. So that's how it's set up, is that he was divorced from his wife, and she died in a car accident. And so now he's left with their 3 kids, and they are, like, pretty spaced out. His oldest is 16, and then we have like 10, and then we have like, I can't remember, I think she's 6. So those are the ages of it. And then his kids are causing a lot of trouble and really kind of riling him up in a lot of ways. And he ends up actually running, or his brother, who I'll come back to his brother in a second. His brother is very supportive and helpful. His brother helps him out with the kids. But our heroine in here is Eliana. So Rowan is the hero's name. Eliana is our heroine. And she actually had been an au pair and a nanny before. And she's at the grocery store and she sees this little girl climbing a rack of shelves to get the specific, like, snack that she wants. And Eliana is like, can I help you? Are you okay? And so she helps her down. Just as the brother comes running around, the hero's brother comes running around and is like, Eliana, oh, and he sees the interaction between her and this lady already and is like, oh my gosh, have you been a nanny? Because my brother is hiring. And anyway, she gets convinced to actually go and apply for this job with him. And she gets the job to be a live-in nanny for him. And yeah, and then it was really good. It was done really well. It is one where they're immediately thinking about how erotically hot they are. But again, that's a staple of QB Tyler. I knew that was going to happen. He immediately is looking at her tits and her ass and wanting this. And she's like, oh my God, hot daddy. I want it. Like, they're both super attracted. However, they do very much focus on the kids for a good part of it. It's really great. And then things kind of boil over. Now, what I did really like was actually the first time that they like do kiss and then get like interrupted, because of course there are 3 children. There's going to be a lot of coitus interruptus in this book. So just be prepared for the lady blue balls ahead of time, right? But I loved how the hero reacted after they were interrupted, and like there wasn't any like embarrassment and like I have to stay away from you. There was, I'm attracted to you. Do we want to do something about it or not? Because if we don't, we do have to shut this down. And if we are interested, then let's be serious about it and not just like torture each other, because we need a plan if we're gonna, right? And so I like that part of it. So this was fun. It was a quick read. This did also deal with, there's a health scare from one of their dads. But yeah, this was great. It was a lawyer and a nanny, and he is, I believe, like 14 years older than her, because she's 23. I can't remember, but yeah. So that is where we're at with that one. So this one had some anal, it had some daddy kink, and some praise and degradation in here. So it's got some spicy fun time. So this was a 4-star for me and a 3.5 on the spice scale. And again, it comes out in April. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I can't wait for next week, which we're starting with April. And let me know what you've read, what books you're looking forward to, and we'll see you next time. Bye.